What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Week 3 NFL Power Rankings show. Week 2 is always fun because it's the only week where the amount of information that we have on these teams doubles. So in the first week of Power Rankings, it's really tough to sort through what really matters, reacting without overreacting, and now we have double the amount of information to hopefully have a better idea of what these teams are and who they're going to be moving forward. So that's the goal of the show. Please do hit that like button down below if you enjoy. Really helps me out as a content creator here on YouTube. Also, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoy, you can join me on this quest to 100,000 subscribers and catch some more NFL content on the way. But let's go ahead and get started at the bottom, ranking 32nd, and it's not going to be either of the teams that were in the bottom tier last week, so that's not aging well. You know, both Dallas and the Jets pick up a winning without their starting quarterbacks. It's not going to be either of those teams, and I really think you could pick a large variety of teams here, and maybe this 32nd spot will change as we go. But it's got to be somebody, and for me, it's going to be the Chicago Bears here at 32. They got their win week 1, and I really think what we now know is that the conditions really helped them because it was able to, in week 1, muddy things up, keep the score down, play a slop fest, which plays into their nature because this offense is a slop fest. Justin Fields, through 2 weeks, has only completed 15 passes. Darnell Mooney is non-existent. This defense is, I think, well coached, but talent deprived. I just think this is the worst team in football right now. Now, we might see that tested this week as they play my number 31 ranked team this weekend, the Houston Texans. Definitely another team that I feel like Lovie Smith is doing a good job down there, but there's only so much he can do. So really leaning on the talent-deprived rosters to go towards the bottom of these power rankings. And I just feel that way about the Texans. There's only so much they can do. Scrappy team, but I'm going to rank them 31st. And both of those teams are certainly in contention for the number 1 pick right now. And maybe this weekend's game will be a teaser for who that's ultimately going to be. Then we have at number 30, the Seattle Seahawks are going to drop down 4 spots. They had their fun week 1. They won their Super Bowl hosting Russell Wilson. But going back to the team that I think we mostly projected them to be, and it's a team quarterbacked by Geno Smith, well coached on defense, but talent deprived in their own right on that side of the ball, especially after the Jamal Adams injury. So, yeah, I think this team got their big win week 1 and are heading towards a rough season here. Then the New York Jets are going to come in at number 29. You know, there's certainly takeaways from that game. They were mostly beat up by the Browns the entire game, and I don't want to take too much away from, you know, scoring 2 touchdowns after getting an onside kick and having this epic comeback in a game that they really should have lost. From a football perspective, I don't know how much last week meant for the Jets. Of course, it was good to see Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson out there playing well, the young offensive talent that they're hoping can provide a spark for this offense. So I will take that away, but it's more of a, you know, a culture thing. Like this team, like I said last week, they just can't seem to build off of anything. They are hanging on to the hope that Zach Wilson will come back soon and kickstart this team's season. So to get a win, to really feel like you were 0-2 and then run out of that game with a win, I do think is going to spark some things for this Jets team that still has a lot of issues going on. Then the Carolina Panthers are going to come in at 28. The talent that is on this roster has shown in flashes, but everything feels hard for the Panthers right now. It's been botched snaps. It's been Baker constantly rolling out of the pocket. It's been poor play calling, in my opinion. It's been fumbles. It's just everything feels hard, and that comes back to coaching. And I just don't know what else we need to see from this point that Matt Rule is not an NFL coach. He just is genuinely at the bottom of the pecking order. And you look at a team that they played on the other side of the ball this week in the New York Giants, who have way less talent, and you just know you don't have your guy. Like Brian Daboll had that team together, playing sound, good play calls on third down, and there's none of that with the Panthers, and that's been the case for years now. So that's really my only takeaway is how long do they want to continue lying to themselves about Matt Rule? He should be the far and away favorite to be the first coach fired. I like this roster. I think it's pretty good, but it's embarrassing what they're accomplishing right now with the players that they have. Then the Atlanta Falcons. This team's competitive. It's really all I can say about them. They have, to me, a functional offense. It's infuriating that they don't use Kyle Pitts, but they're still kind of functional. Like Mariota looks, actually, he wasn't great this week, but I think he can move the ball with his mobility, and he's decent over the middle of the field. Like, I think Arthur Smith's a good coach. This defense is still really trying to figure out who their players are, and that's really all I can say about the Falcons. Then the Cowboys come in at 26 after picking up a win over the Bengals. Obviously, a huge win for this organization. Last week, ranking 31st, was in the depressing pit of sadness tier last week. But the defense digging them out of that pit. I mean, this pass rush is insane. You can make a case this is the best pass rush in the NFL with Micah Parsons playing the way he's playing up front, and pretty good on the back end through 2 weeks. So like this defense is going to keep them alive, and maybe they can scrap out a couple more wins. They get to play the Giants this week, and Dak gets back, and maybe they can get their footing, but. Just a good start to dig themselves out of the hole. I still don't think this is a great football team right now. Cooper Rush had his moments, but he's still a backup quarterback. So, big win, but still going to come into the cellar dweller tier. And the team they play this weekend is going to rank 25th in the New York Giants. I don't know if people are going to be ranking them too high. They've won 2 games. They're 2-0. Just kind of depends on how people do power rankings. Like, the Giants are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Cowboys this weekend, basically saying that's a pick'em game. So if you're going off of Vegas, I think I have these teams rated appropriately. But if teams are more going with the standings approach, you're going to see the Giants a lot higher. Like, they've scrapped out a couple wins. There's still a clear lack of talent on this team. But unlike a team like the Panthers or even the Cowboys behind them, I think the Giants can say very confidently that they have their coach. And I'd much rather be in that situation than have a slightly more talented roster without a coach. So, like, Brian Daboll's doing a great job. Saw some really creative third down play calls. Like, obviously, they are playing a cohesive game plan and playing as a good unit. So, like, that's a great thing to see. Was very optimistic about the Brian Daboll hiring. So, I just want to celebrate that. I don't think the Giants are going to go on this big run and be a playoff team or anything like that. Like, that's just not in their cards, in my opinion. Maybe they prove me wrong, but, 25th, I think, is the right spot for New York. All right, that ends the cellar dweller tier. And now we have a new tier that's really difficult to rank. It's just the group of tough outs and teams that probably aren't legitimate playoff contenders, just too many issues right now or too much of a lack of talent. But teams that I think are going to be moving up and down throughout the season, that any given week, any given Sunday, they might pull an upset or they might lose to the Bears or the Jets. Like, they're in this group, right? So that starts with the Tennessee Titans. What a horrible start to a season that we knew was going to be a transition season here after losing a lot of talent. Ryan Tannehill, just not the quarterback that's going to carry a team that isn't going to carry him. And that's exactly what we saw against the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. And yeah, this team's a little bit, toothless at the moment. They don't have a great passing game. Derrick Henry has not been able to really, at 29 now, 28, like, has not been able to really put the team on his back in any situation. So it's a defense that I think is capable, but has just been on the field too much and given up a lot of big plays. So yeah, this team is reeling right now, and I honestly think the Titans are just a very below average football team this year. Then the Washington Commanders, they're much more on like the polarizing ups and downs this year. Let's face it, they've had some big moments. Like, Carson Wentz has made some really nice throws. I think this defense has talent. These receivers are fantastic. They're gonna be able to, in spurts, like, put up some good offense. But it's almost like this team has taken on the identity of their quarterback in Carson Wentz. I just think they're so undisciplined, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Just busted coverages. You expect more from a team with veteran defensive coaches like Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. So just a very up and down team that is so week to week, some explosiveness, and just a lot of frustrating moments as well, as we saw this week against the Detroit Lions, who ranked 22nd for me. One of the most fun teams in the league, just like most easy to cheer for teams in the league. Jared Goff has not been good. I will credit his fourth quarter drive to seal this game was good on that drive, but for the other 7 quarters of this season, he has not been good, and that's still something they're going to have to figure out. But the run game's been really good. Swift has been good. The play calling's been super fun. They've mixed in different tricks and different ways to manufacture offense. Defense is still a concern for me. And I just, they're well coached. They're scrappy. They're fun. That's about it on the Detroit Lions, but better than last year, definitely. Then the Colts at 21. And I was wrong about the Colts. Like, I'll put my hand up. Apologize, like way too high on this team coming in. I ranked them 10th. I held them at 10 last week. Looked at that Texans game and was like, I kind of talked myself into it. Like some stalling in the red zone, some bad fumbles, some flukiness week 1. Let's relax a little bit. No more relaxing. This was an embarrassing performance. And I know Michael Pittman was out, but that's part of the problem, right? It's they have no receivers other than Michael Pittman. Paris Campbell's not stepping up. You're not seeing Alec Pierce look good. That left tackle situation with Matt Pryor and Bernard Raymond has been worse than projected. And this defense has not had the, just it factor about them. They've been such a bland defense. And Gus Bradley, I don't think, has shown a whole lot there. So this is a very average, below average football team at the moment. I think they'll turn some things around. I know there's a lot of people dogging on Frank Reich, and I think he is on the hot seat. Like, he definitely has not done a good job. But this has been a team that the second you count them out, they kind of respond. So I still have some hope for the Colts, and their division is a mess. But, God, it has been a disaster. And I didn't even mention how bad Matt Ryan looks on this team. So, yeah, I'll put my hand up and say I had them way too high coming in. And now I think they're appropriately ranked. Maybe even still too high. I don't know. We'll see. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming in at 20. Moving up 1 because I think they are a better football team than the Colts at the moment. But the Steelers are exactly what, I didn't watch that game against the Patriots and really have a whole lot of takeaways. I guess I'll say, like, the defense is still fighting without TJ Watt, and it is good to know that Watt will be coming back around mid-season. When I did this video last week, it was looking like he was going to be out for the year. So there's a little bit of hope around the corner for this defense. And, I do think we're going to get Kenny Pickett out there soon. They play the Browns on Thursday Night Football. They're hanging around. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars at 19. Another team I'll put my hand up and apologize. Like, I really did not believe in this team. I thought Doug Peterson was the worst coach in the NFL the last time we saw him. I thought the Christian Kirk thing was like, I thought they put way too many eggs in that basket. Not that I will say, I didn't mind them spending a lot of money for weaponry, but I just didn't think Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram were enough for Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, it's kind of been enough. And Zay Jones has been pretty good too, who I thought was just kind of like a whatever signing as a wide receiver 4, but he's been like pretty functional as a number 2 guy. So and Trayvon Walker's been good. Like, everything I questioned about their front office this offseason has pretty much played out. And I'm just going to say we were mostly all wrong about Christian Kirk. He has looked fantastic. Trevor Lawrence has been mostly good. This defense, I think, took a step up this week with their scheme and some of the blitzes. This is, I think, of all the teams, other than maybe Buffalo, that have been fun to watch. I think Miami's up there as well. Philadelphia, there's definitely some contenders there, but the Jags have been one of the most fun to watch teams in the NFL. I've been genuinely impressed. They're going to come in as the highest ranked team in the AFC South, and they got to be, I don't know if I would say they're favorites, but I'd bet on them. Like, I kind of like what's going on, man. I got a lot of tip of the caps to have towards all the things I question about this Jags team. They've looked really good through 2 weeks. Okay, then the New Orleans Saints at 18. Man, that was hard to watch. Like, that was one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen from an actual starter in the league in a while. Like, I know Jameis is dealing with a back injury, but I honestly can't believe that they didn't go to Andy Dalton in the fourth quarter. Like, Jameis couldn't complete a pass if it wasn't going to the other team. Just holding on to the ball, mistakes. It was horrible. And I know he's going against probably the best defense in the NFL, but you can't play like that. Not in a game where you have countless opportunities to score. It was awful. And they will have better weeks ahead. Jameis will be healthier. But knowing that is a possible outcome, and knowing Jameis's history, what a derailing loss for the Saints. Because you can't really play with confidence on a week-to-week basis when that's your quarterback. So that was really rough to watch. Still a good defense, still a lot of talent on this team. I still think they're well coached, but gosh, that was a rough week for the Saints. Then the Patriots, like, that Steelers-Patriots game was so predictable. It went exactly like you would think it would. They're climbing up because some of these other teams are falling behind them. Like, I do think the Patriots are better than the Saints right now. I think they're better than the Colts. I think they're better than the Titans. They get the win this week. Mac Jones was fine. The defense was solid. Just like I said last week, like, Belichick's going to bounce back. He's going to get some more wins out there. This is not going to be a bad football team, but they're just not a great football team. Then the Browns at 16, they're going to wrap up this middle tier of tough outs. And they choked this one away. Horrible clock management. ESPN, believe it or not, actually did a really good job breaking this down, where they had the clock was running before the 2-minute warning. They had enough time on the play clock to get it to the 2-minute warning before running another play. And instead of letting it run down to the 2-minute warning, the Jets were out of timeouts. So if they just get a first down and then slide inbounds, the game's over. But they snap the ball before the 2-minute warning, and then Kareem Hunt runs out of bounds before the 2-minute warning. So they totally botched the play clock at the end of this game. It was really, really bad to see that from Kevin Stefanski to not just finish the game. Like, I think they just weren't taking the Jets seriously, and they got burned for it. But all that said, like, they were the better team. The Browns were the Browns. They ran the ball. Myles Garrett was great. They played good defense for the majority of the game. I didn't watch that game and have any changed opinions about who the Browns are as a football team, but it does hurt that they have one more loss in the right-hand column this week for their future outlook. But, like, who they are as a football team, I don't think has changed, even though they did lose to the Jets. Okay, then we have this ugly tier coming out. There's 3 teams in this tier. The figure it out tier. Like, they have just some very frustrating issues going on. At least for 2 of these 3 teams. Number 1 is coming in at 15, the Arizona Cardinals. And the Raiders are going to be at 14. So, like, there's going to be some pushback on this. I do think the Raiders are still the better football team than the Cardinals. Kyler pulled that game out of his ass. It was like down to the wire, backs against the wall many, many times. The Raiders botched it at the end of the game with the fumble. Like, I definitely watched that game and still feel pretty confident saying the Raiders are better than the Cardinals. Both these teams have 2 entirely different issues. The Cardinals have one of the worst coaches in the NFL, and they have a terribly thin roster. Their offensive line, their defensive line, I'm worried about it all. This team lacks physicality. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll hold this point until he's gone. Cliff Kingsbury is not the answer at head coach. Like, God, I just wish they had the foresight to do what I was saying on this channel in January. Fire Cliff and hire Brian Daboll. Pair Kyler with Brian Daboll. God, this would be a thing of beauty. Unfortunately, that's not the direction this team's going. So, yeah, they win. They're going to climb up 4 spots this week. And they're in the mix in a shallow NFC, and Kyler's fantastic. But, God, this team still has a lot of issues, man. They really do. Then the Raiders at 14, like, again, they should have won this game. I didn't walk out of this game, like, with any different questions about the Raiders. It's still mediocre defense. It's a poor offensive line. And it's, God damn, Derek Carr is a problem for this team. They have set the expectations here, and Derek Carr can only take this team to about here. And I plan on doing a film breakdown and maybe get into that a little bit more later in this week. But yeah, they got to figure some things out there with that. You know, the offense really should be better than it's been. Then we got the Vikings at 13 here. Week 1, they're way up here. Week 2, they're way down here. They're in the figure it out tier because we still have a lot to learn about this team. New coaching staff, how healthy can this team stay? Looked really good week 1. Week 2, the defense was really concerning to me. They had no answers to anything Philadelphia had going on. They also ran into Monday Night Football Kirk Cousins, which you don't expect every week. So, rough week for the Vikings. I don't want to overreact to that one. I think they'll bounce back and be just fine, but I don't know how great they'll be either. Okay, then we have the flawed playoff teams tier. Teams with evident issues on this team that might eventually hold them back, but I still think these are like playoff caliber teams. And that starts with the Bengals. And their issue is coaching. It's crazy that when I did the Bengals deep dive, I had them 8, I think, coming into the year. Which some people thought was too low for the defending AFC champs. What is pretty crazy is that I said they were genuinely not a well-coached football team, and the mass majority of people agreed. You're obviously going to get those people that are like going to look at the wins, look at the playoff wins, and say like, "Oh, Zach Taylor rallied this team." There's a lot of issues with Zach Taylor, man. You got Joe Burrow on critical third downs yelling to the sideline, like, don't call empty. Like, stop leaving me with these unblocked defenders. And they still call empty, and he gets unblocked sacked by Micah Parsons. Like, what is going on here? I just don't think Zach Taylor's a good head coach. And this team, I think, has a nice floor and still can be a good playoff team. But I just don't love their ceiling with Zach Taylor. I just don't. Then the Broncos at 11. I don't know what to do with this team. Like, yeah, they've had a lot of ugly moments. Russ has not played great. The coaching has been pathetic. Like, that sequence that I'm sure all of you have seen with the delay of game on the field goal where they then get backed up and end up punting when it was 4th and 2 when they probably should have just gone for it. They were down by 3 in the third quarter. Just go look that sequence up. It was embarrassing for Nathaniel Hackett to follow up what happened in the Monday Night Football debacle week 1. Like, they're leading the league in penalties, false starts. Like, they have so many coaching issues that they need to figure out. But I still kind of believe that they're going to straighten some things out. Then the Miami Dolphins are going to come in at 10. So Tua has a huge game this week. Best game of his career by far. I felt like his decision-making in the second half was perfect, absolutely flawless. Made 3 really nice throws in that game, all in the red zone. Like, the throw to Mike Gesicki was, excellent play. I also think you can't just ignore the horrible mistakes he made in the first half that helped them dig themselves into that hole in the first place. The 2 big touchdowns to Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. Like, he does not get credit for those. It was 2 busted coverages, and one of the touchdowns he underthrew Tyreek Hill. So, he doesn't get credit for those. But all in all, I am giving credit to Tua. That was an impressive performance to battle back. You're down by 28 points and to still have flawless decision making and patience, to be accurate, to make plays with your feet when you need to. Finally, we get the good Tua game. And if he can be that every week, the Dolphins are going to be a legitimate playoff team because the defense is good. I know they had their struggles this week, but I still believe in that defense. These playmakers, what else can you even say about them at this point? And honestly, what I really want to mention with the Dolphins is Mike McDaniel. Whatever you feel about Tua and whatever the future of this team is with him at quarterback, forget about that for a second. Mike McDaniel is it. And I feel like some of the creativity in San Francisco has dropped off that we're seeing in Miami here. I think that was a pretty big loss for San Francisco. This guy's really good as a play caller. It's been super fun to watch this offense. Just all the different stuff they're doing pre-snap and the ways that they are able to mix things up to get the ball in the hands of these incredible playmakers in different ways that's unpredictable. They ran a stick and nod with Jalen Waddle in the slot, and it was just perfectly designed. So big fan of Mike McDaniel, and the Dolphins have impressed me, man. I look pretty wrong about the Dolphins right now because it's been pretty damn good. But I do still think, we got to see more from Tua still. If you're going to put them in a Super Bowl contending level, I would still be worried if it raises to that level of conversation with Tua. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know if I'm worried about that at this point. I'm doing some apologizing, and one of these apologies will probably end up being an overreaction the first couple weeks. I don't know which one, but you know, and I say that with Jalen Hurts, I don't really feel like I need to apologize. I think everything I have said about Jalen Hurts to this point is true. Like, he had a lot of struggles last year. You watch that playoff game against the Bucs, and you're like, this guy can't process a blitz. He cannot play within structure, and that showed up in multiple games last season. So I'm not going to apologize for watching the film last year and telling you guys what I saw and for having concerns about those things that I saw. But what I will do is give Jalen Hurts an immense amount of credit for continuing to do what I have given him credit for, and that is get better in massive increments, but year by year by year by year. And all of the praise of his work ethic and his attention to detail and his willingness to work on his weaknesses, that is what's special about Jalen Hurts. I mean, obviously he's athletic and he's now an accurate passer, and there are impressive aspects to his game for sure. But what's rare about Jalen Hurts is, we watched Carson Wentz suck it up this weekend. We watched Jameis Winston suck it up this weekend. Jared Goff, all these highly drafted quarterbacks that never developed. The list goes on and on and on. What's special about Jalen Hurts is he has taken a massive leap from his time at Alabama to Oklahoma to his rookie year, where he still wasn't a great quarterback, but he was at least playing in the NFL and looking competent. Then you get to year 2, and it's okay, he goes from capable backup caliber guy, I would say, in his rookie year, to now he's a starting level quarterback. I ranked him 28th based on what he played last year, and I'm not going to apologize about that. I think based on what we know from him last year, I still think that was a fair ranking. Now it's okay, he's really playing well in structure. He is staying accurate. He's using his feet when he needs to. Man, he is now jumping from capable starter to good starter. And when is the ascension going to stop? That's what I don't know. Is he going to keep making these massive leaps to the point where he's a top 5 quarterback? At this point, I'm done questioning if those leaps are going to happen and just enjoy the ride and give a tip of the cap to Jalen Hurts for being the rare quarterback in the NFL that works his fucking ass off. So the Eagles are sweet, man. The roster talent is incredible. Love Howie Roseman. This is a team worth celebrating. They do all of the things right. And Monday Night Football was an encapsulation, is that a word, of all of those things. So the Eagles come in the playoff contenders tier. I can envision this team winning a Super Bowl, and I definitely didn't feel great about that based on what we had watched from Jalen Hurts last year. Massive leap this offseason from Jalen Hurts. So Eagles at 9, and then I do still have the Ravens at 8. Epic collapse. The secondary falls apart. You obviously need to look at that and be they got to figure out some stuff on defense. But they still had a lot of good stuff go for them in that game. Marcus Williams is freaking awesome. I think Marcus Williams could be a top 3 safety in the NFL in this scheme that uses him in varied ways. Now, schematically speaking, because they're moving him around so much, they did have some coverage busts on the back end. They have got to figure out the communication on the back end. Both Tyreek Hill touchdowns were issues with the rotating safeties that they're not used to here in Baltimore. So, they got to figure that out. That's something that is a coaching thing. I think they will. They got to get these corners healthy. Marlon Humphrey was in and out, on a pitch count. Marcus Peters is playing his first game in a long time. They have a lot of stuff to figure out with this secondary. I think this pass rush needs to get better. I haven't really noticed Odafe Owe once this year. But in general, I still think this defense will figure some stuff out. They were really good in week 1. And offensively, they were great. So it's a frustrating loss. It was embarrassing, but I still believe in the Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar was great in that game. Then the Niners at 7. It's so weird. I don't think I've ever... I can't remember a situation where the starting quarterback gets injured. I feel terrible about it. My heart sinks, and I'm that sucks. And then I still feel a little bit better about the team. Like, we know what the Niners are now. And no, it's not like, okay, Trey Lance could blow up and they're the best team in the NFL, which I think was in the realm of possibilities coming into the year. I don't think the Niners will ever find themselves in the top 3 of these rankings. It is possible, but like, I do now feel like they have a really nice floor with this offense. It's rinse repeat with everything they did last year. They're going to get George Kittle back. And the one thing I will say about this Niners team that I was right about is this freaking defense is so scary. This to me is probably the best pass rush in the NFL right now. And they're good on the back end. Like, this defense is terrifying. So I feel a little bit better about the Niners right now than I did last week. That's for sure. Then the Rams at number 6, big bounce back week. You know, Stafford was still up and down to me. They played a really bad Falcons defense. There's not a ton to say about the Rams. They took care of business in a game where they're 10-point favorites, defending Super Bowl champs. Like, they're hanging around, right? That's really all I have to say. I guess the other thing is, like, why do teams not respect Cooper Kupp? It's weird watching teams just, like, treat him like any other wide receiver, and he's just getting 15 catches a week. Like, what are we doing here, NFL? The Packers at 5, another team that just kind of took care of business. They were 10-point favorites. I think the defense, like, they have so much talent that they're going to dominate a team like the Bears. I still don't understand. Quay Walker has no blitzes this year. They still aren't running man coverage. They don't run stunts up front. If they come out against the Bucs this week, against Tom Brady, and they're going vanilla 4-man rush, like dropping into quarters coverages, I don't care who Tom Brady's receivers are. Brady's going to beat them. I need to see them mix things up defensively. And the offense, I think, has pretty much been exactly like we expected it to be early on. Super run heavy. A lot of Cobb and Watkins. Was good to see them actually lean on those guys this week. Lean on those guys early. Try to sprinkle in these rookies and turn that over to them by season's end. I don't think the offense has really been a surprise. And getting Elton Jenkins back was big for this group too. So Packers starting to build up some things here. Then we got the Chargers at number 4. Thursday Night Football. I didn't really have any changed opinions on them. They missed Keenan Allen for sure, but Mike Williams stepped up. I thought Herbert played pretty damn well. I don't think it was like an elite game from him, but given the circumstance in Kansas City, thought he played pretty well. Chargers defense has got great playmakers. Asante Samuel's freaking so good, dude. So good. Incredible performance. And like some botched decisions, I think, on 4th downs. Brandon Staley, I think, got in his head a little bit. They, to me, actually outplayed the Chiefs a little bit on Thursday night. I didn't really walk out of that game concerned about the Chargers. They just didn't walk out with the win. Then I got the Bucs at number 3. Like, they're figuring some stuff out offensively. Obviously, their offensive line is depleted by injuries. We'll see if they get Donovan Smith back this week. I would guess that they do. That will help. The receivers are all banged up. Mike Evans is suspended. Like, all that stuff on offense is a bit of a worry right now. But at the end of the day, this is the best defense in the NFL. They've allowed 6 points in 2 games. Is that right? Like, I ranked them number 1 coming into the year. Incredibly talented, well-coached defense, no holes, and they've backed it up. So, like, you got the best defense in the NFL. You got Tom Brady on the other side of the ball. They're going to be just fine. And they are the best team in the NFC right now, which isn't saying a ton, but I do believe that. All right, then I'm going to have the Chiefs at number 2 this week. The Bills are just running circles around the NFL right now. I am going to have the Chiefs in a new tier. Like, I think the Chiefs, more than the teams we just detailed, don't have a lot of issues. Like, they didn't play a great game on Thursday night. They really didn't. Mahomes made some mistakes. They had some really frustrating coaching decisions in the first half with their play calling, in my opinion, and they still won. So, like, that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the Chiefs. Even when they aren't on, they still find a way to win. I think they are a tier ahead of everyone we just detailed, but they ain't the Bills. I don't remember a team in week 2 that I feel is confident that they're like the clear-cut best team in the NFL, and it would be an upset if they don't win the Super Bowl. Like, it's crazy that I ranked them 3rd coming into the year, and I was too low. Like, they crushed the defending 1 seed in the AFC. Whatever you want to say about the Titans, that's not a horrible football team. I don't think they are. And they crushed them without Gabe Davis. Like, they feel unstoppable. They will probably have some hiccups at this point, hiccups at some point, but I don't know when that's going to happen. They are steamrolling the NFL right now, and I would be daft to put them anywhere other than number one, and honestly in their own tier at number one. And the Josh Allen, I'll end it with this. The Josh Allen QB1 conversation, it's not just on, like, man, he's going to run away with the MVP at this rate. A lot of football left, but like, I'm trembling from Minneapolis right now, and I don't have to play the Bills. I can't even imagine having to get ready for this team on a week-to-week basis. They're insane. So that's going to wrap up the power rankings. Got a little long this week. I don't think you guys are going to mind, but if you did enjoy, please do hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe as well. Join me for more great football content. I've got podcasts coming out tomorrow. It's the Fully Inflated Football Podcast. We're going to talk even more in depth about these games, so make sure you subscribe to that. There's a link in the description below for that. It's the Fully Inflated Football Podcast, and you can go follow that YouTube channel. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Peace out.